to find out a little bit about City Island, working with your daughter. How difficult was it to be in this sort of dysfunctional family with, everyone keeping secrets from one another, and how close to reality was it?
It's kind of pretty natural in our family to, we're professional actors and we speak about the work professionally. I don't have to look after her. If I was directing the piece, I could talk to her as a director, and I don't think she'll receive it as the direction as a father.
And you did that in Lost City.
Yeah, and I barely said anything to her. And even in this movie, if I thought that she was having trouble with something and wasn't getting the kind of observation from the director at the time, I might have come over and said, just try to relax, take a deep breath, think about this and stay grounded, don't get ahead of yourself. Or
and she wouldn't take it as dad meddling.
No, because she would be feeling it, and just like I would expect it for her to say it to me. I worked many years ago on one of my early films with Jeff Bridges, who I admire tremendously. And Jeff, who was the protagonist of the movies, and I was the kid off the street, and he was already a very well-known actor. The first day I met him, he said, "Hey man, as we're working, if you see anything I can do that can make what I'm doing better, anything, you just tell me. You tell me if you feel like, direct me if you want." Right. And I was a kid off the street. And I said, wow, this guy's really got it. There's no ego in the work, that we're here conspiring together for all of us. The most important work on camera is done, for a movie, is done off camera.
Talk a little bit about the Miami Film Festival and the International Film Festival. How important are these festivals for the life of the arts and communities? And is that something that really is a place to kind of in a recession, try to build it up?
At this point, Tribeca is more of a market than the Miami Film Festival is for exposure. Hopefully one day Miami will grow. It serves other purposes, but Tribeca is more of a film market in a way.
Right.
So we showed it, we won the audience award, and we got a bite. So in that sense, from a business standpoint, it's very important. Also from an artistic standpoint, whether it be Tribeca or Miami, it gets a chance to interact with people of the community. I myself was here in the first Miami Film Festival when I was an aspiring actor. I hadn't moved to Los Angeles yet. And I met one of my film heroes because I went to a screening, and because of a contact, I was introduced to him, and he was able to talk to me for 5 minutes, which was Nestor Almendros.
Oh, yes.
So, and that's what the festivals create, is the ability for the filmmakers to talk to young filmmakers, to have forums, to interchange with other filmmakers from other countries. So that's the beauty of it.
Can you talk a little bit about the film future in Cuba? It's going through changes and it's going to take some time, but do you see some provocative films coming out of Cuba, and do you see more of that movement going into the future, and any role for you perhaps?
Well, I certainly would love to make a movie in Cuba. I've made several movies that I've made about Cuba that were shot outside of Cuba because of reasons of the existing regime there. But there's a tremendous wealth of talent that's always come out of. If we have one great export in Cuba, is our literature and our talent pool in terms of the arts. So there is a tremendous history of cinema there and talent. So I think that's a natural thing that it's a natural industry that can grow there. First of all, there are diverse stories that can be told there, even within Cuban history. But even if you wanted to shoot Pirates of the Caribbean 4, you could actually go there and shoot it. So I think it has a good potential, and especially if you can, I'm sure the cost of movie making could be more cost effective there, and some countries have incentives, tax incentives that can be reached. So there's a lot of work to be done in Cuba before you get to those points. And first and foremost is the liberty of the country, the notion of absolute liberty. So, but I would, I dream every day of going to Cuba. So make a movie in Cuba, please. That would be like utopia.
And my last question goes back to your roots, because as a Cuban American child, you really got here when you were just 4 or 5 years old.
5.5.
And your dad was involved. He was a lawyer in Cuba.
Yes.
And he was also sort of you guys were guajiros in a sense, because you had a place in Bejucal.
We had a farm, yeah. My father was a gentleman farmer, I like to call him.
Yes, a gentleman farmer. And So how did that play when you got here? You know, your dad apparently helped out some of the children who came through Pedro Pan, and I don't know if you have any memory of that, or what have you known about that program?
What I was told, what I had been told or have been told, and I don't remember specifically my father going into depth about it, and my mother would probably be the one that could be more specific. But because he was a lawyer and a notary, he actually, after we came first, and then my father stayed to try to resolve, and he was planting a crop of cucumbers and was trying to get it out of the country, ship it to Tampa, where my other part of the family, what he calls himself the original Andy Garcia, they had a produce company in Tampa and in Buenaventura in Bejucal. And he was trying to take that produce, since it was, they had basically those, the monetary standards had changed and all that. He was trying to get that shipment out so he could use that as what he could start his new life with, whatever he sold those cucumbers for, but they never grew. The seed was bad.
Oh.
So while he was doing that there, he was basically falsifying visas and helping kids get into the Pedro Pan movement through the Archdiocese of Miami and Monsignor Walsh. And the way he came from Cuba was that he brought a child to the airport and took him to as a guardian kind of thing, whatever it was, and he took him into a plane, and he told he had some sort of connection with the pilot or something. He said, "Save me a seat," and he kind of got on the plane and left. He sat on the toilet, basically, in the metaphor, and left Cuba.
Right.
That's the story, as I understand it, in terms of his connection. I never went into much detail with him about that, and he passed away, but. Again, the Pedro Pan story there's a great movie to be told there,
Are you looking at a movie there?
I know of the story, and there've been books about it, but here's the thing. These stories are not, Hollywood does not look at these stories as commercial ventures.
Right.
So if a community, whether it be the Cuban community or the Greek American community, any immigrant or exile community in America, they want to tell their stories. And this is what I've said, and I say it to you now, I take this forum. If we want to tell our stories as a Cuban exile community, so people better understand our story, and our children, our grandchildren, whether it be the Spanish-American War, and Martí Maceo and Teddy Roosevelt and Máximo Gómez, or Pedro Pan, or Arturo Sandoval, which I did, or The Lost City, or Benny Moré, those stories have to be financed from within our own society.
Right.
We can't go outside for someone to give the filmmakers or the storytellers the financial wherewithal to tell the story, because once it's made, it'll have an international market, because I don't have to be a Holocaust survivor to want to see Schindler's List.
Right.
But we can't rely on other people to have the financial structure for us to be able to tap into as artists.